This is about the extent of the damage we've seen down here in western Columbiana County. We'll be keeping track to see if there's any more. But just an example of the violence this storm had. Luckily, no reports of injuries at this time. Just a lot of power outages and drivers frustrated that they can't get through that part of the road.
27 First News reporter James Santelli is live at the crash site in Akron now with the very latest. James?
And Dan and Lauren, a lot to break down here this morning. So let's start with what we know so far. This was a 10-passenger private plane. And so it is with the issue of transgender students and which bathroom they should use. Most local schools like Austintown say they haven't had a problem. Here's how it works. You download the Uber app on your smartphone and open it up. The GPS will find your location, and then you hit set pickup location and request Uber X. Uber will find the closest driver to you. Down here on Lisbon Street, we've got some dust in the air because just 2 minutes before you came to me for this live shot, the house right behind me came down, but that was by design. Now picture it for yourself in your neighborhood. If you saw somebody getting delivery trucks day after day and box after box, would you think something was suspicious? I'm down here at South Range Schools where they're just about an hour away from this program, and it's focusing on human trafficking because it's part of the larger awareness campaign from the state of Ohio. Now I'm here with Trooper Rodney Ramps from State Highway Patrol. Now 27 First News has done stories where you've gone into truck stops, hotels, other places. Why did you now want to expand that program into schools?
Well, a lot of times when the State Highway Patrol or any law enforcement agency gets involved with the human trafficking, we're getting into it at a point where it's too late.
And Dave and Erica, I've traded in my normal blazer and tie for a life jacket because we're out here on Berlin Lake for the start of the Memorial Day weekend, and it is going to be busy all weekend long. And that means you want to be safe when you're out on the water. Got a yardstick here, that's 3 feet. I'm about 6 feet too, so as you can see, this is a lot of snow they've had to deal with here in Geauga County. I wanted to be safe today using the hat and the gloves to prevent bee stings, but honeybees are starting to go by the wayside. According to the federal government, 40% of all hives in the United States died out this past winter. I'm here on far west of Trumbull County on Nelson Mosier Road. As you can see, a tree down here that is blocking the entirety of Nelson Mosier Road. That happened around 3:30 this morning. We got reports in our newsroom about 4 o'clock. They're closing up shop. It'll be busier tomorrow when they have the burger competition and the beard competition, different facial hair categories. But for now, things are pretty tasty in downtown Youngstown. Talking with my mouth full downtown, James Santelli, WKBN 27 First News. What started out as just that crack in the road, in less than a month has turned into this, a giant gaping hole on the side of Lisbon Road. I'm down here just to show you how deep it is, about 5 or 6 feet deep, and at its widest, about 25 feet wide, all heading into those 3 houses that had to be condemned, evacuated entirely. And I'm James Santelli. Stan is off tonight. First at 10, Paul's been warning us about it all week, and the valley is in for one frigid weekend. Good evening, and thanks for joining us for 33 WYTV News at 11. I'm James Santelli. He was hated. He was beloved. He was eminently respected. He was often disrespected. But there's no denying whatsoever that Muhammad Ali was an American legend with a voice and a punch all his own. And that daily service, that's the real big thing because we haven't had daily service here in the area for quite a while. So having that as something that's regular seems to be a big deal.
It is, and that was like one of the things that made it such a big delay in getting this process approved was because, you know, we hadn't had daily service in 14 years. Finding an airline that wanted to come in and do this again was a big struggle, and finally they landed with ADI. So
finally ready for takeoff.
Finally ready for takeoff.
Molly Reed, thank you so much. Police started chasing Luis Cruz Ramos through Camel just before midnight.
Units, be advised, I made contact with him on the phone. He said if he stops, it's on. Just be advised.
Police say that's Cruz Ramos driving a 1998 Ford van. Watch as sparks fly from his front wheel.
I've been trying to swerve into cruisers, so use caution.
Since I was about 5 feet away from the van and 6 or 7 police cars behind it.
They tried to stop his van with spike strips on Midlothian Boulevard, but he drove on, leaned out the window, and fired a gun at the cops. One bullet going through an officer's windshield.
Shot fired, everybody code 6.
That's when police say Ramos left his van behind on Interstate 680 and started running away into the trees behind me. Police gave pursuit on foot, and that's when Ramos fired several shots at them before disappearing into the cemetery.
And that was the last time anybody's seen him.
John ELBERTY is the commander of the Mahoning Valley Crisis Response Team. Local officers teamed up with the FBI, the SWAT team out of Cleveland, and Ohio State Highway Patrol. A massive search was on.
We just deployed on all four corners of the cemetery, and then we just basically conducted a online sweep of the whole property.
Law enforcement spent the whole morning looking through Lake Park Cemetery, but Luis Cruz Ramos was gone.
As the last thing we knew, he was out on foot. So if you see anybody fitting that description that was put out on the news, just call your 911.
In Boardman, James Santelli, WKBN 27, First News.
Here's James Santelli live in Columbiana County.
And good evening, Dave and Erica. Yes, I'm down here on the side of Lisbon Street where I showed you the only station that was down here showing live pictures of them demolishing these houses earlier at noon. Now, it took a lot to finally bring these houses down, and it actually took more than just construction equipment. Actually, they needed some fire equipment as well. What they needed was water. And that meant a fire hose.
To keep the dust down, we had to live load everything as it would be asbestos.
Just in case, because they couldn't go inside the homes to check for asbestos. PUSATERI excavation demolished the house furthest down the hill early this morning. And then they hosed it down. Now, house number 2, the middle one. Watch it, at noon sharp, that home with the collapsing porch finally comes crashing down. Well, after weeks and weeks of waiting, it only took about 10 minutes to take down not only this house, but also the side of the White House and throw some dust of flurries into the air. Then came the final house, the toughest one. Solidly built. Look inside, you can see a family's life. Kitchen soaps, bedrooms, beer boxes. 20 minutes of smashing brought it down. And the fire hose watered down the dust. The only issue all day was a small leak in the hose. Otherwise,
We did it safely. No hazards, nothing came into our way. Everything went pretty smooth.
Lisbon Street is still a trench, but the 3 homes sitting so precariously on the side of the road, gone.